Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with psychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
Mentioned a couple of interesting phrases here. Every sentient being, it sort of echoes from Buddhism, and earlier you referred to Buddhism as well. And I know a phrase from Buddhism that has often struck me in terms of our understanding of reality. They use a phrase that translates into English roughly as mutually dependent arising. That is, that there is no such thing in Buddhism, as I understand it, as a self. It's an illusion. It only exists because of its mutual dependency with the rest of existence.
Yes, and of course this is a very deep topic, and we could spend many hours and even then not exhaust its implications. In my reading and understanding of Buddhism, it doesn't, at least in some forms of Buddhism, they don't deny the self, but they say the self is not our deepest nature, which again comes back to the perspective of intersubjectivity I was talking about earlier, is that our deepest nature is relationship. So to say that we are in relationship with all other sentient beings is to say that our deepest nature is that relationship. And that is very much consistent with the Buddhist perspective, that we have a self is one way of talking about it. We do have a self, but we are not the self. The self is not who we are, but it is something that we possess. Or if you like, the ego is something that we possess, but it is not ultimately who we are. A phrase that I often use to describe that is, we are not who we think we are. And that operates on a few levels of ambiguity. We are not who we think we are.
Well, some Buddhists, including the psychologist Susan Blackmore, describe the self as nothing but a concept that we have, a small concept that in what one might think of as a much larger psyche.
I would agree with that. Where I wouldn't go is to say that consciousness, as distinct from self, is an illusion. Because if we go there, we're opening up a really thorny issue of, well, who is having the illusion, if not some conscious sentient being? So I don't think we can throw out consciousness and sentience and experience,
as some philosophers might attempt to do,
as eliminative materialists, for example, vocally do.
Susan Blackmore, to whom I referred, is often aligned.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So I would not accept that perspective. I would accept the implication that our deepest nature is not this individual self, but I say that the notion of experience, of consciousness, that gives rise to a sense of self is real and has to be acknowledged as part of who we are and as part of reality.